Everybody, welcome back to the channel. Review anything and everything. Today we're just getting a little bit into a casual rant in regards to the fairly new Tudor Corner Lego modular set. All the details is going to be down below in terms of the title and description and whatnot in terms of the model and the set. But as I mentioned when I did the review, this was actually my first modular set. So kind of an interesting experience, you know, for your first time having a set. And so I just kind of want to break down a couple of things in terms of just some of my thoughts in terms of just modulars in general, but then also too, just a couple of things that I thought like can kind of be done with this set specifically. So as far as my thoughts when it comes to the modular sets, they're really nice. They're like the equivalent of, for those who collect the Star Wars sets, they're like the equivalent of a UCS set, but for Lego City, I would say, you know, you throw them in that category. Because generally Lego City is kind of just the regular people walking around, civilians, pedestrians, whatever you want to call them, just walking around, going about their regular everyday. And this is simply like the more detailed version, which then kind of brings a point of, I'm sure a lot of people integrate regular Lego City with Lego modular sets, which are part of the Icons line. The modular sets part of the Icons line. And just thought that came to my mind right now. Most people are going to integrate Lego City sets with the modular sets in regards to things like, say, you know, maybe cars, if they're building a city, all the regular things that are going to be provided by the Lego City sets. But it makes me almost wonder, on a side note, should they start making a separate, and I don't want to say a separate line, but almost like even smaller builds that are specific to, say, the icons or the modulars kind of themes. The modular themes are more detailed than your regular city sets, at least in terms of, you know, the buildings. Should that be the case also for other things? Just put down in the comments down below what your thoughts are with that. What I mean by that too, as an example, is should there be a, well, they kind of do this in terms of, like, say, like the police department, where you have police sets for Lego City, and then you have the one for the modular set, which is more detailed. But should that also expand into even smaller sets, like, say, I don't know, Speed Champions, for example, does cars, very detailed, versus like a regular Lego City car. I guess you'd almost consider like a Speed Champions car almost the equivalent of, even though the scale size is a little big, but it's like the equivalent of a more detailed, for the Icons line type of car, you know, if you get what I'm trying to say. But anyway, not to go too far off topic. What, as far as the modular line goes, one thing I wanted to like mention is, like I said, this is my first, and one thing I noticed was that obviously Lego does their base plates, which are not even in a building class category as far as their size. Like normally you have plates, which are 1/3 the height of a brick, and 3 of them equal the height of a brick. But when you have the base plates, they're smaller than a plate. And so it kind of throws things off when it comes to city building. There's a long point in time we had the plates for, you know, people would start a city on. And I'm going to bring into frame, actually, which I happen to have laying around, a gray base plate. I think this is a 48 by 48 stud, but you see that really big base plate like that. It's going to cover the whole screen, so I'm not going to really, let me just throw it there in the background for now. And so people would build their cities either on that. You would have, this is like a 32 by 32 base plate, certain studs, build on that, or you would be able to build on the road plates that used to be same kind of base plate design, very flat, except the only difference was the sides would have the studs, and then the center would just be completely smooth flat to be the road. A lot of people, obviously, when they came out with the new road system, abandoned those, and they also went to this customizing they called mills plates that were done, which was essentially, I believe it's it's a base plate, then a layer of brick, 1 brick high bricks, and then plates, regular size plates, which is 1/3 the size of a brick, on top of it as this kind of layer. Even then, to me, it seems kind of like a little off that you have to do all that. I think, and the key factor that kind of throws everything off in that system, coming right back to modulars, because the modular sets are the key of that, or the basis that brings you to that design. And I would say would be having base plates that are not base plates, but that are regular plates in terms of thickness, but the same size as base plates. And I recently saw on Amazon, I'm actually going to throw a link in the description. I think it was called, I know I'm saying the name wrong, Strictly Briks or something. The link's going to be in the description down below, but it's a company, a third-party company, so it's not Lego brand, that does plates that are the size of base plates, but they're still the regular plate thickness of like 1/3. And that's something that I feel Lego should kind of convert to. It's funny that I stumbled upon that around the same time frame that I was building this. And if I would have came upon that just shy of before building this, and I would have bought one of those and built this on that. And I do kind of want to transfer this to one of those. But my point is, I think the modular line, if they did that and had base plates that were a full plate high, full plate thick, that it would allow the building experience to go hand in hand with the roads, where even though the roads are part of city, like I already said, a lot of city stuff goes hand in hand with what's used with the modulars in terms of, when people, actual customers build their city, they're going to do it by combining modulars. It's going to probably be almost like if they have the money for modulars, that's going to be the centerpiece. If they don't, then obviously the city sets are going to be the centerpieces. They're going to work around city. But a lot of times, some people will have this kind of, the modular is your base or starting point, and then from that point, you end up having other city sets that go along with it to help build up your city. And that's kind of like the direction I went in, because I never had a modular set before. But nonetheless, it would be nice if the non-modular sets were a little more compatible with regular Lego city sets. And obviously they have their connecting points for connecting the modular sets, but nonetheless, you can't use the new road plates with these. Now you could use the old base plates that had roads in them that I just mentioned still within this. And I don't really know if those are even being made anymore. I thought that they were discontinued. I'm sure you can find third-party brands that still do them. But the point is that these are not compatible with the city road sets. The other extensions for connecting to the other buildings. These are not compatible with the road sets. So that's interesting, and realizing that. And like I said, I'm going to eventually convert this over. I wish, though, that I could just lift the whole building up and just plot it down, and then most of the building will come up, and the only thing I got to worry about is just these little tile plates on the bottom. But I'll see how that goes. But then on another side note, what I wanted to mention, that's just my thoughts in terms of the modular line. I do think the only thing they really need to change on it is that. I think also, too, it would be interesting if they started building a little bit of smaller or half-size modular sets. I think would actually be nice. I know no one's ever really thought about this, but so for example, this goes for $230, and I'm sure a lot of modulars probably come out in that price range, about $230. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say ballpark, I want to say that the X Mansion came out about that price range. I think, did it cross over to 300? I think it was 230. Even though that's not your conventional modular set, but I'm just going off the prices of some of the newer sets that came out. The Botanical Gardens, I think, was about that same price range too, 230 maybe, and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if the museum was more because it's a bigger set. But when I'm thinking in the realm of a half set would be, it is kind of what I'm going to get into with some of my free thoughts that I just had, a little bit of things you can kind of customize with this set and things you can kind of do with this is taking a half set that might be half the parts, and it would just be a house structure. So similar to the way that they have like the book, the Birch Books, is it called, modular set, and it has two structures that are actually separate. So how I mentioned in my review how this is one structure, but it looks like it's two structures, and essentially that structure, the Birch Books, was Birch Bookstores. I believe I'm saying that correct. Birch Bookstores. It is two sets that combine, so they're a little thicker than what this is here, but it looks like that. It looks like that. It's probably as wide as, is this any wider than that angle? Maybe not, I don't know, but it looks more like they're a little wider than this, but it looks just like that. For those who are, obviously, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And they look like two building structures, and you can pull them apart and then bring them back together. But I think each one is a little wider than this because each one has its own kind of little apartment set up in the inside. That seems like a, pretty decent size, not super big, pretty decent size. But anyway, my point that I was going to get at is the fact that I could see the modular line making a half set where it costs maybe $150. You get half of the pieces. So in this case, this set came with 3,266. Maybe you get about 1,500, 1,600, and it'll be one structure and just residential. I would love to see Lego give us a lot more residential. A lot of the modular sets, like I said, I'm new to modular sets and buying them, and I don't know how much more I'll get. I know I'm not going to be one of the people who buy every single year because, I'm just not one of those people who is like trying to collect every single set. Some people are completionists in that regard. But the house structures, I wish that they had more of that because their modular sets always have like a store, some kind of business, and then an apartment in it. The Birch Bookstore modular set had the two setups, like I mentioned, and one was just an apartment and the other one was the storefront, but they were separate. So that kind of gave you a taste of having just a complete build on the side that was an apartment that had nothing to do with the other thing. Yes, it was one set. So the fact that it combined is separated into two, technically you could say it was a set that had a store aspect and an apartment also, but because they designed it separately, like imagine this being split in half and this is the store and that's the apartment, it gave a taste of what I'm kind of talking about. And so I think it would be nice if they did that, had, it's not on there that well, had half sets that were just apartments, nice looking apartments, designed, decorated, maybe even like a style kind of like that. And, where it doesn't have a store on the bottom, maybe it's just this half. So imagine just the store half, there's something on the bottom there, but it's not a store. It comes up to this pink nougat or whatever you want to call it style here. Cut off the blue part of the haberdashery store and it just goes up like that. And it cuts off right there. It will cut off right here, come up, slide it straight, and it's just an apartment. And even though that's not that big because it wouldn't be that thick, this would probably be the equivalent of, how many studs would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4. What is this? Maybe 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe like 10 studs wide. It's like maybe about 10 studs wide and or whatever many studs long. But nonetheless, if you have multiple floors, you can then chop it up to where the ground floor would probably be the kitchen and the living room area. The second floor above would be maybe a bathroom and a smaller bedroom area. And then the top floor could be like maybe 2 bedroom areas. And so you're spreading it out amongst the floors, but you could imagine that being half the set right there, half the pieces, half the price, maybe $150, $160. And you have a nice, kind of half modular set in terms of, and the base plate wouldn't have to be this big either. It could be half of it, the same way they did with the Birch Bookstore, where it was like a half of a modular plate set. So this is supposed to be, I think, 32 studs by 32 studs, the base plate size or the footprint. I think the Birch bookstore set was 16 by 32. And so you could do the same for a half build. And I think that would actually be a really great design, a great concept. I think a lot of people would buy them because then you could really build up your city with the residentials. You don't have to have all of the stores and stuff like that. I think I probably would have got into purchasing a modular set sooner if there were more subtle options for city builders. So someone who's transitioning from city sets, because I have a couple of city sets I reviewed on the channel before. I've reviewed 2 modern home sets. One that was dated from, I think it was 2021. The other one was 2023. Simple sets. They're not modulars, but you know, they have their little base, not a base plate, but they're set up on their plates. They come with the road, little pieces of the road system with them. And when you transition from that to other sets that you still want to have residential, and I'm gonna build my own little city with those residentials between having this in it and those homes. But a nice transition is just having more detailed homes without the size or the price of the full modulars, especially when you have buildings where, for me, I wouldn't want necessarily to jump into something like the Botanical Garden Museum. I'm just building a little residential neighborhood kind of setup, maybe some stores. And so this fits, but those other sets didn't fit for the level I'm at. And so I think it would be nice to have a half set that was just residential, but the detail of a modular set, which has so much detail in the residential, more so than the details that you would have in a regular city set, but yet, you know, it's smaller, not the price of a full modular. So a half set, I think it'd be great. And even at, like, say, $150, $160, when you compare, like, say, if you just had just a half, the detail you're getting with that, I think is even better than, say, there was an apartment set, Lego City apartment set that came out. I forget exactly, but I think it was Downtown Apartment. It was like I think that was $100. I think that was $100. And I think something like this for $150 would be better and even worth it. Just the details, the craftsmanship on it. It's great. And like I said, the piece count, if you cut this building in half, you're getting that same kind of piece count. Well, you're getting like $150 worth of a piece count. So in that case, it's not like you're telling them charge a lot less for giving me the exact same thing. So on a side note, or part that I was going to get into separately from that, was this set right here kind of gives the potential. Like I said, it's just my first modular set, but I really feel it gives you the potential to, if you had the money to burn, buy 2 sets of these, or you could do it with the 1 set you have, but most people are going to want to keep this the way it is for the 1 set that they have. And of course, I cannot lift this up right now. There we go. And what a person could do, which I think is quite interesting, with almost roughly about very small modification, I don't want to say zero modification, but very little modification, a person could turn this set into 2 separate sets. If you were able to put a roof on that, and obviously you would just, you know, shape out plates to fit that and do a simple roof similar to maybe this simple roof like that, simple flat roof. Just edge out the shapes correctly the way you need it to be a flat base bottom. Obviously, you could just even take the same shaping size of the bottom of this, that many studs, make out the plates. You can even use this as your model for your design. Take the top, square it off, put the tiles on it like that. Then on that top piece, what you can do is this. If you want to get a little creative with it, put like a little guardrail going around the top of that roof. So what I'm going to do here, just to kind of, and I have trouble always taking this roof off because it's hard to grip it. There's not a lot of space to grip it. That's just a little baggie with the extra spare parts I threw in there. So say if you had like this roof, for example, right? It's not going to fit on here flush or completely right now because of doesn't fit that size. but I'm just gonna put it at an angle and you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm saying. So imagine that you have this roof on here, covers the whole thing, very simple to make. And the steps, you can leave them just as they are. Why? Because on the top of the roof, you can put some extra railing, put a little sitting area, put a little bit of greenery for some plants, make it an outside sitting area. Obviously, you won't have a chimney or nothing like that. Have an outside sitting area for the top of the old Garden Inn, the bar, which we call it the pub. You have a spot for the outside dining for the pub. You'll have the store here still, which is cool. And that will be its own separate set right there, whether you want to keep it next to it or keep it like, you know, down the street from it if your city's really big. And that would just be that. And this, you can get another base plate, put it on the bottom of it, tile it off, make it, you know, have its own little sidewalk. This right here can be its own little house structure. Now, the one thing I would say is, you know, you want to ditch some of these plants on the bottom so it doesn't have, like, you know, obviously it looks like they're meant to be higher up. And then, you know, I don't know if you really need to change anything on the bottom, even though it does kind of look like it's just been split off from the ground, but like it looks fine. If you got rid of these plants, I think it would look fine for the most part. It won't look like it's suspended up high like that. And this would just be its own separate residential building. Now, as I said in my review, I don't like the fact that this looks like it's, you know, divided where it's, it looks like two separate buildings, like that kind of design. I wish that, I get it for the store and the bottom of the store, it makes sense. But as you come above, now it's kind of like, oh, they're all one apartment, yet the building looks like a separate building. But nonetheless, my point was that I'm getting at is that you can make this its own separate apartment. Take it, so if you had a second set, because you won't want to do this for the original set, because this is just a very nice set. I think it's amazing. Clean out all the clockmaker stuff and then put an apartment in there. And the inside going up the steps from the side that goes up the steps on the inside of here. I'll just pull this off if I can, because I always have trouble pulling these layers off. Here we go. And so the inside apartment here, you would just take the steps area. Don't mind, I threw everything in here just a storage, so don't mind the cluttery of it. I got the bike inside there and everything. But you would take this door out of here. That's all you would do. Just take this whole thing apart right here, remove the door frame and put it right back together. That's all you're doing is taking away that door frame. Now you got a spare door. And that's going to be just a straight walk up towards the other part of the apartment. So it's going to be one house with a downstairs and an upstairs floor. So a 2-floor house. And that would be it. You'd have a 2-floor house. This is the top floor of it. This would just exist somewhere separate in your town. And then that would be its own little thing that you have there. And if you did buy 2 sets, what you could do is obviously you'd have your main one as the original set. I would say at that point, you could take the haberdashery. I'd rip that sign off and you could replace it with just another, you know, piece to fill that space. I'd chuck all the stuff out of the haberdashery and I'd turn it into something else completely, just for the sake of doing that. You know, if you wanted to make it into like another store, you know, just something else that you want to put there, whatever you could think of, you know, you could put it there. A matter of fact, I did a video before. I actually took these parts away from the area and I put them, they're somewhere put away. But I had, if you look at just a couple of videos back, I did a little setup of little cameras, my own like brick built cameras of like, you know, add-ons to the regular camera build for minifigures. And you could turn it into like a camera store or something like that. You know what I mean? So I have a little shelf on the side there where you have the, like all the hats and stuff like that on there, make it a shelf, put cameras on top of it, something like that, whatever it is you want to do. But the point is you could do that. Or another thing too, if you want to get more really into it, what you can do is completely being that there's just blue right here, and I would say that the, let me take this off and put this back over here. Just that being that this is just the blue on here, and it's interesting because you got there's no blue on the rest of this, just here. What's interesting about that is that if you wanted to, you could take that blue out, replace those pieces with either green or just more of the light tan, which I think is a more subtle color to match the whole rest of it. And then that would be, you could just break down the middle wall, or not break it down, but you can expand the restaurant, the bar. And in that case, it would just be like, this is the accent wall to the front, and the rest of it is the tan look, which for the most part goes all the way around. Well, there, here you get the kind of light nougat, they call it, but nonetheless, it would feel a little bit more of less dynamic colors all around it. And then you can knock down something in here to create that, you know, either a full pass through or whatever it is that might be done to kind of make it where it's, you use that space rather than a separate store. You use it for part of the bar, extra seating in some way, or whatever the case is. But yeah, so that's an option. I think this set actually gives a lot of the ability to customize the set. I always butcher that word when I try to say it, but it gives you you can really customize the set. And I really think that, I don't know. I've never owned any other modular sets, so I don't know if they are able to kind of really do the same and have the same vibe, but I see so much potential in this set in terms of changing things up. Like I said, you can turn this into like a rooftop setting as well, as far as like the pub, expanding it with the rooftop setting. And the reason why I even came up with the idea, I didn't even think about that before I was going to suggest that you could make the standalone set, until the moment I just took that roof off during the video and realized, well, what are you going to do with stairs? And rather than get rid of the stairs, which you kind of need them because that hides the bathroom, you would just put a rooftop access, and that would solve that. You don't have to get rid of the stairs. And then, like I said, with this, you could just make it its own separate apartment, which I think is really awesome, because it looks nice. I think it looks nice as its own apartment, and I think it works very well. And in my review video of this set, I had mentioned how the closet here could be used, it turned into a bathroom if you wanted to, on the second floor. And on the third floor, if you made this a single apartment, I also showed how, as these two top, the second and third floor as a single house structure. I already showed in my previous video how you could add a bathroom into this one. Very simple. Also, it wasn't very neatly done, but it still was a bathroom. So that is I think it's very easy to tailor both of this. One's already an apartment set up as it is, studio apartment. I think it's very easy to turn this one into an apartment aspect, like a joint part of this house into one single house. I think it's very easy to do that. And if you did that, then you wouldn't need the bathroom to be upstairs where I did it in the review, and I showed you how you could do that. You could just make that closet a bathroom. It doesn't have to be a fully fleshed bathroom. It just it could have a toilet in it, and that's it. If that's what you could squeeze in it, and I demonstrated that in the review. But in terms of just this whole layout and setup, yes, like turning this into the bottom floor of a single house with the top would be so easy. So easy. You could make this the kitchen setup, kitchen and living room setup. And then at the top floor, you could have like the bedroom setup, and then you put like a divide in there. So you would have to like take a lot of the stuff that's in there. And I'm just gonna pull this off again. You could take a lot of the stuff that's in here and push that back and try to divide it up where you can get like maybe squeeze out a second bedroom. So you might have to get rid of a lot of this stuff. But what's cool is you can take a lot of this stuff that's in here and just bring it downstairs to the downstairs area, especially if that's going to be a living room. Even like the couch, the bookshelf, the table. Obviously, you already got that rug downstairs. A lot of this stuff could go down there. And then what you could do is put a divide here. So when you come up the steps, maybe right here is like a wall, and then you've got a room over there, a little hallway that wraps right around these steps, and then another room on the side over here, however you divide it. And this could be like a 2 bedrooms upstairs, and the bottom will be a kitchen and a living room area. So simple to do. And like I said, the pieces that already come with it really kind of help you get that started, because most of the stuff that's here can go downstairs. And then what you could do is, you know, take, set up a kitchen set for downstairs. It really wouldn't be all that hard, and I think that it would be a nice look. So it's options. So I'm really kind of impressed with the options that you have with this set. I know I rambled on a lot, but just wanted to throw that out there as far as my thoughts with modulars and this particular modular in general. Let me know, comment down below if you guys have any thoughts on other things that you guys are able to do with other modulars. Any thoughts that you ever had? Were the other modulars as universally changeable as this one, for lack of a better word? Did you have that same potential, or did they feel like, yeah, you couldn't really work with them in that way? I mean, I would imagine things like the museum, for example, obviously might feel a little limited, though I'm sure what I went through some people's heads before the X Mansion came out was probably turning the museum into an X Mansion, or something of that sort. But who knows? Certain sets that were just more of the regular modular ones. Have you guys thought about something like the Jazz Club? Did you have alternative ideas that you could build that into, or any of the other sets that came before it, the Boutique Hotel, whatever the case is? Did they have that same kind of vibe to you guys where you could do that with? I don't know, because I never had them in hand, but this right here, like I said, really gives me the feel that there's a lot of different things that you could do with this set if you had more than one of it and you just really wanted to have fun with it. You know, from the range of keeping it the same and turning this into another studio apartment, keeping everything the same and making this a connecting apartment to where it's just one connected setup, taking it apart separately and making it its own 2-floor single family home away from that, and then customizing that to have a rooftop access, a dining area, or just anything you could think of. Even gutting the entire building just to be one residential, and even the bottom stairs being its own residential as well, is something someone could do as well if they want to do that. So just what are your thoughts on that, and if any other sets kind of compare in that same realm? As always, you guys like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.